Hey everybody, welcome again to Wingman Wisdom. Thanks for joining me today. Now today is part 2 of 3 with RV industry veteran Kevin Frazer. If you missed part 1, a link is going to be down below in the description. I do hope you're going to watch, and I believe you will gain a ton from watching. Now essentially there are some incredible deals right now on remaining 2022s, but also on brand new 2023s. Really incredible deals on many Forest River brands and models. But what about Thor and Winnebago? It appears that they have made some very interesting plans to try to sell you an RV.
Now, I don't know what the circumstances are at Thor. What I've heard they're doing is making special production runs, privately badged things that aren't regular brand names. Now, the brand names in the RV industry aren't that strong, other than Winnebago and Flagstaff Rockwood and Airstream. So they are kind of crates on skates. But if somebody buys a no badged RV, a privately badged RV, they might not be financeable in the future when they go to sell it as a used one because it doesn't appear in the value data bank.
I never thought of that. I never even thought of that.
Plus, nobody has any idea what the hell it is. I had a dealer out here in the Midwest who used to make privately badged products because they believed it gave them an advantage. All it did is prevent anybody from shopping. It was just a Cherokee, but it had a different name on it, right? Now, that hurt people. So I'm always discouraging that. But right now, Thor appears to be going the private badge label, or a semi-private badge where they're making a product that only one dealer chain can buy, or they're building to order for another dealer chain a product that has a badge on it, a brand on it that I haven't seen since it was on a motorhome in 1971.
And
so it's a non-bed.
Explain to me why buying one of those private label, if you will, RVs is not a good idea. Just explain it in very basic terms. I mean, you may get a good price on it, but what does that mean in the future in terms of my ownership? And then whenever I decide to sell
even before you buy it, how do you know if you're getting a good price? Because you can't shop it against anybody. Nobody else has it. So you don't know.
Say, hang on, no. They say it's the same as a blah, blah, blah. We just stuck our label on it. And I would say,
exactly,
well, then why do you call it that? Why don't you just call it what it was?
There's 2 different brand new badges out of Thor that aren't like anything else they build. They're not like anything. And one of the companies says they're being all built by Jayco, but they're not. They're being built in several different plants, including a Heartland plant. So no, you can't compare to anything for comparison shopping. But the real danger is in the aftermarket. You've had the RV for 3 or 4 years and you want to trade it in. I know that it's worth less money than a properly branded product because I got to sell it to somebody who doesn't need bank finance. I got to sell it to somebody who can pay for it with cash, because if I write a contract for a 2021 no brand name and I submit it for financing to one of the big banks, they're going to say it doesn't show up in the database. It's unacceptable collateral. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Ooh. I never even thought of that. So you had mentioned the word Heartland, and I want to get into some of these deals that you hear about and I hear about. I spoke with a lady the other day that she purchased from my favorite dealer, Camping World. She purchased a Heartland, a 2022 Heartland for $17,000. They don't even have a pickup truck. They have a permanent site. They are having it delivered. They thought something was funny, something was unusual. They end up, once the thing is delivered, they didn't even know how to set it up. The Camping World didn't set it up for them for whatever reason, but they started feeling funny and they looked at their paperwork. Kevin, they didn't pay $17,000 for it. By the time it got to the site, it was $27,000. $27,000 for a $17,000 RV. I'm like, how do you do that? Well, they said we needed this.
Well, I have a video that explains that in 23 minutes.
I know you do. And I know how they do it.
They've been doing that forever. And it's not just Camping World, because the guys that invented this whole scheme at Camping World, that's Roger and Todd Nuttall, they now run Bish's.
Say real quick, if you have not yet watched the Camping World video that Kevin mentioned, it is a must watch. It really is, and it will shock you, I guarantee. A link to that video is also in the description, or you can find it right here on YouTube. Just type in the word Camping World Review, The Truth. Camping World Review, The Truth.
How did this happen to them? They had a contract. Did they read the contract?
No.
They signed a contract. They wrote a check. When did they write the check? Did they just trust the salespeople,
Yes.
the office staff?
Yep.
Now, please, people, don't trust anybody. I mean, it's like trust it verified. You got a contract. That's what protects you. When you sign that contract, on the bottom, it'll say what you're paying. And if you pay something different than that, you can sue them for fraud. You can have them charged. So
how did they get away with this, Kevin? Because literally, this
they've been
woman
getting away with it for decades, haven't they? Because, and look at, I talked about how we got canceled on 185 times in about a week. But you know who canceled on me? Those were my smart customers. I can't really blame them for that. Now, I have an incentive not to cancel Forest River because I want my relationship to be stellar with them so that when other dealers do it to them, they'll sell that stuff to me for a discount. So I have a self-incentive. But my smart customers saw $5 gasoline and maybe a land war in Europe and said, we got to get out of this. We're just not going to do it. They're coming back now. Every time we have a RV recession, Cheyenne is always the first one to fall and always the first one to climb back. And we're climbing back now.
So let me ask you this. Let me see if I've got this right. Because dealers backed out on their orders when Putin invaded Ukraine. Dealers backed out on their orders. The manufacturers are going, oh my, what are we going to do? And Cheyenne says, we're not backing out. If you give us a fair price, we'll continue to buy them. So your inventory went up, but the price you paid for that inventory was a pretty good price. And that's why you're able to offer the RVs you're able to offer at such a screaming good deal.
Yes, but there's caveats. There's those that we ordered to be built and were scheduled for us. We paid the price that we agreed. We bought discounted units after those waves, and we've been buying discounted units ever since. And 2023 discounted units, I didn't think was going to happen because I thought that everybody had learned the lesson from Peanuts cartoon concerning Lucy and the football. So in the model year just ending, 2023, various dealers ordered groups of 2023 models so that they thought it would give them a competitive advantage over people closing out 2022s. And then they didn't ever pay for them. They did the same thing they did in February and March of 22, only in slow motion. I've been getting stuff. But they're not giant, huge groups per se. But I know who the dealers are who did this to them, and I'm the guy that they call to get it over with. Now it's the end of the model year; these got to go. Some of these things have been built for months and months and months, and dealers to be unnamed have been promising, "Oh, we're just up against the limit of our floor plan. Oh, we just got to turn a little cash. Oh, we're just opening up a new store, and those are going there. It's not quite ready to open." That kind of arguments, but they never took them. They sat there, taking up space, running the interest meter. Forest River calls on us. Let's make a fair deal. We buy them. And I think there'll be, I know in this month of July, there's going to be a big batch. And then after that, anything that's a fair cop, I'll buy. Anything that's decent, I'll buy. And if I can sell it to the world for a cheap price. We're going to return to regular order in 2024. I'll appear on this channel when we return to regular order to sort out what's going on there. But it looks like we're over the worst of it. Now, I am aware of some absolutely horrific conditions bedeviling dealers across the nation. Your favorite, Camping World, is a publicly traded company. If they slip into bankruptcy, and they're already talking about cutting their dividend, that they won't die. They're a public company. They'll go to a judge in Delaware and convince him to let them live. But there's some private companies, those that were trying to go public that didn't. They will cease to exist. And will that cause trouble? You say, well, Kevin, you could probably go in and buy their inventory for a song. Yeah, but if it's been in a troubled dealer's possession, you got problems. Not just the one you thought of right away. Does that dealer have a clear title? Can they sell titled goods legally? No, other things. When a dealer is in the death spiral, they sell an awful lot of refrigerators and air conditioners and other appliances on the Facebook that have been stripped out of brand new inventory held by the bank.
Oh,
yeah, I know. When I'm offered a group that's been to another dealer's lot, and it hasn't happened since 09, we send one of our emissaries to where those are sitting, and we ask that they be inspected in detail because they're very troubled.
I want to ask you about 2022 models and specifically, the ones from these big chain dealers. I'm not trying to throw, them all in the same pool, so to speak, but going back to this lady that spent $17,000, she thought she was buying a Heartland for 17, ended up 27,000 on a 2022 model, one of those leftover units.
Yeah, a little tiny Mallard Heartland.
Yeah, it turns out that the shower was put in completely wrong. The air conditioner wasn't hooked up and working, but they didn't do a proper walkthrough. If it's true, and I don't see any reason for this woman to lie to me, she said that they went and I said, did you do a final walkthrough? I called this woman back. I couldn't believe it. Did you do a final walkthrough? She said, well, we walked through, but we didn't know it was a final walkthrough. They said, this is that, and this is the other thing. And we just came back and signed papers, and we were wondering what happened. I'm like, how does, so buying a 2022 or even a 2023 from somebody, it's not just getting a good deal. The good deal means when you're happy with the dealer and somebody does a proper walkthrough, make sure the shower works properly, the air conditioner's working, and that kind of thing.
In 2022 models, look, I just found out in the last month that even Toyota had quality problems in 2022. It wasn't just the RV industry, but the 22s that were built were awful, especially those that were built in quarter number 4 and 21 and quarter number 1 and 22. They were awful. Our prep department, I brag on it, has had to prep these things 3 cycles to get them right. By the time we get through the 3rd prep, our customers never knew about what gremlins lived on. But Camping World and the other dealers, they get them from the factory and they say, there it is. We'll drop it off at your place tomorrow. They didn't look for any problems. They didn't. And look, I'm probably going to get in trouble, but in my business, we have considerable experience. And Heartland's not the worst. They're the second worst. Gulfstream's the worst. And so when I get a Gulfstream or a Heartland in trade, we go through it with a fine-tooth comb before we resell it. We sell most of our used RVs on auction. Right. And we find stuff on those particular brands that any competent shop would have seen immediately and fixed before delivery to the original customer. Doesn't get done, it goes on forever. It's always there. So we clean everything we can, but you're on the right path. What those people did when they bought that Heartland Mallard was they allowed themselves to be fleeced. They should have raised objections on the whole process. They obviously didn't watch our video if they ended up paying 10 grand more than they agreed.
I asked her, I said, why did you buy, kind of set the stage. She left a very detailed voicemail, and I try to call as many people back as possible. Got a hold of her. She was hot. She says, we got this thing, and an hour later, after the guy left, we started noticing the problems. I said, can I ask you some questions? Why did you buy from Camping World? She said, well, they were on Facebook and I just saw a pretty RV and it was the Heartland, travel trailer. So I responded, they were really nice. They were really nice when I went in. And she's like, oh, I could just feel it. It's that feeling of embarrassment and, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into? And anyway, long story short, they took the RV back. It's sitting at the dealer, supposedly getting fixed. She said they're supposed to re-deliver it. I'm not a lawyer, but I said, I wouldn't take it back until they do a complete, thorough walkthrough with you there and you're okay, and kill him with kindness. Be as nice as you can be. and make them show you how stuff works. Is that unreasonable from my point of view for, giving somebody advice? I know you're not a lawyer either.
I've heard this story countless times. I don't know what redress you got. They have a Consumer Protection Bureau in their state. What state are they?
Wisconsin.
They got a pretty fair consumer affairs office in the Capitol. They can make a complaint to the Consumer Affairs. There's nothing. See, they should make a detailed complaint having to do with how it costs $10,000 more than they agreed to. Will they? When I talk to I get the same calls you get. Make a complaint. If you hire a lawyer, is the Camping World store in Wisconsin also?
Yes.
All right, it's all in the same state, so they might be able to get some traction with the states. See, you can't say it's $17,000 and then collect 27. I don't know how that happens.
I know.
And did they finance it? Please tell me they didn't.
Of course they financed it. Of course they financed it, Kevin.
Happened.
And that's that.
But you got a bank. You got another party involved. If the consumer tells the bank that they were swindled, the bank will put pressure on this organization too.
The lady said that she said, I called up Camping World, tried to get a hold of Marcus, and I talked to his assistant, and I said, well, you're never going to talk to Marcus. I mean, I'm not trying to be ugly. It's not going to happen. I've talked to all these people and said, you need to, again, not a lawyer, but you need to start writing people, documenting everything, and take a deep breath and kill them with kindness, not with meanness, even though they have probably, as you feel, swindled you. But try to not take the low road, take the high road, but make them do what they're supposed to do. And I don't know if she can get out of it. What do people do? It's not just this woman. What do people do when they find out that they have been buried? Because too many people that bought in 2021 and the early part of 22, they're so buried, in a financial.
They have an RV that they've had for 2 months, 4 months, a year. Nothing on it works. It tows poorly. It was never properly set up for hitch. And they owe a god awful amount of money, and they call Cheyenne Camping Center and want to be traded out. I can't do anything with them either.
You can't help them, but what can they do? I mean, they're as I say in RV purgatory. What can they do? What should they do? And if it's just tough, what you're going to tell me, then tell me the tough love.
The tough part is they can't really do anything, can they? The example you cited, the Wisconsin example on this little Heartland mallard, that's pretty clear to me. But they need an authority to agree with them. And if that authority is somebody like the Consumer Affairs Department of the Wisconsin Attorney General's office, they might get redress. Because the one thing that a Camping World store is not going to allow is for the state to threaten to pull their license to sell RVs. Now, your victim here has to have some kind of records. Your victim here should be holding some pieces of paper that said that mallard was priced to them for $17,000. Then they should show the authorities, the law, that they didn't pay $17,000.
Right.
But the law is going to say, but didn't you sign this bank contract that said you're paying $17,000? And I said, well, I never saw that, but it's your signature there.
You mean 27,000?
Yeah. So enormous trouble. I am aware of some of the techniques that are employed at these stores to hide the fact, it's not just Camping World, to hide the fact that you're paying a much higher price, that you've had goods and services added to the total that have nothing to do with what you agreed to.
Hey, I told you this may be the most important video series that you watch all summer long when it comes to RVs and the current state of the RV industry and what's going on. Again, this is a 3-part series, which we will conclude tomorrow. And the info, I think, in this series is so valuable. It will help you become so much smarter, become a very, well-armed person when you walk onto an RV dealer's sales lot. Now, if you value this kind of information, if you believe it will be helpful to other people, please share a link to this video with anyone and everyone who either has an RV or wants to buy an RV. I think it's really important we get this message out there.